Celaria, not to be confused with the mall kiosk phone repair chain of a similar name, is a speedrunner's wet dream. You remember Platform Racer back on Newgrounds, that multiplayer 2D platform racing game that allowed users to even make custom levels? Remember the absolute banger that was Paradise on E Remix? Well, that second part was entirely unrelated to this, but that song was so good. Anyway, Celaria takes that formula and mixes it with Mirror's Edge style parkour mechanics in a first-person view. It's simple, straight to the point, and fast. In Celaria, which I assume is based on the word acceleration, the cheeky bastards, you play as a sleek robo-reptilian sort of thing, instead of some superhuman woman or partly amorphous blob that's mildly reminiscent of Rayman. Speaking of Rayman, I feel like Rayman Arena spawned this whole on-foot racing genre. Or was it Sonic with the multiplayer maps in 2 and 3? Well, that's a debate for another time, but we aren't talking about underappreciated gems. Okay, maybe Rayman Arena does belong in that conversation, but on that note, moving on. As I said in Celaria, your goal is to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, and as many restarts as it takes to find the optimal path. You can get a bit creative too, and many stages in the packed-in 25, with 5 stages ranked at 5 different difficulties, really help show off what you can do with the level creation. Pretty much every stage has a fairly clear path to the goal you could take, which you can either take or find your own route, with all your mobility options, as well as a few offshoots to entice you into exploring for collectibles. Yeah, this game has collectibles, and we will talk about that later. Level design in this game is a ton of fun, finding the most optimal way to get to the goal. The length and complexity also feel like they progress fairly naturally across the game's default stages, so there's no sudden ramp in difficulty. Not that difficulty matters a whole lot, considering the only negative that will come from failure is a lower spot on the leaderboard. Does it bother me I'm not in first place? No, not one bit, man. No? Movement as a whole feels fluid and precise. Almost too precise sometimes, but that's just the nature of this game. It demands mastery over all of its systems to guarantee your best possible times. Running, jumping, rolling, sliding, wall running, wall jumping, and vaulting. Really, you're only needing to use WASD shift and space. Again, like Mirror's Edge, except faster, and you're not going to be attacking anything but yourself for missing that super cool strat for the 15th time in a row. While running and jumping are nice and easy, as well as vaulting, which is simply pulling yourself up a ledge, there are advanced mechanics such as wall runs, wall jumps, rolls, and slides, all of which are actually not that advanced. You've been bamboozled. Really, wall runs are as simple as running toward a wall at an angle less than 90 degrees, and sliding is as easy as hitting shift while on the ground. It's not entirely necessary, as many obstacles that you can slide under can also be jumped or climbed over if you so desire. One of the hardest things to get down, though again, not necessarily all that hard, will likely be rolling. This occurs when you hit shift a split second before you hit the ground. It won't maintain all of your momentum, but when the alternative is a second-long stun state, it'll be vital to get down. Finally, the hardest thing to truly master, at least for me, are wall jumps. In many cases, they're very straightforward, a simple jump while doing a wall run. The challenge comes in being able to rapidly turn your mouse with great accuracy. You can wall jump in just about any direction within 180 degrees of turning. The same goes for wall climbing, i.e., wall running straight up. Sometimes the optimal path is a simple jump forward onto a nice large platform. Other times, especially when exploring for collectibles, you will be tasked with precise jumps onto bridges or quick turns back and forth to climb small distances, not unlike Mario's wall kicks. All this together combines for a very smooth experience, which is definitely aided by the game's stellar frame rates. Doesn't hurt that the graphics are, pretty simple. The game also goes for a very minimalistic look, another parallel I feel it shares with Mirror's Edge. Despite this, you'll never be at a loss for where you have to go, nor are you suffering any difficulty in determining distance, despite a lot of blocks looking fundamentally the same. Mostly you'll be seeing white blocks everywhere. These are simply normal terrain. On top of this, we have 4 other colors of blocks: yellow, green, blue, and red. Yellow is all about speed, traffic safety knowledge be damned. Running along these blocks will accelerate you upwards of twice your regular speed, and that speed carries over very well onto other surfaces and in the air, working to increase the distance of your wall runs, slides, and jumps. Speaking of jumps, green gets you big air. Jumping off of a green surface of any kind will allow you to leap incredibly far. There's really not much more to that. It's a lot of fun though. They are not bouncy, however, and you will still have to roll when you land on one from a decent height. Next, we have blue. Blue is just ice. You'll have little to no friction on blue surfaces, so you will maintain existing momentum, have a harder time building up speed, and are entirely unable to wall run or jump off of it. You can at least grab the ledge on blue blocks and pull yourself up, but other than that, they are best reserved for pure obstacles for players to avoid. And then red itself is purely just the checkpoints and or goals. All in all, it's interesting to see the ways the developers and players will put these 4 simple block types together. The variety in level design is honestly impressive, scaling greatly in length and verticality, and especially complexity as you progress through the 25 stages. Creating these stages is actually pretty simple, something akin to making Tony Hawk levels, but with relatively simple tools. It's simple, as in all you really can do is spawn blocks. You can move them, scale them, rotate them. The sheer complexity of some of the levels, however, showcases how much you can do with so little, like a basic set of Legos. It's all up to your imagination. You can even place collectibles scattered throughout, just like the main game, to give players even more to do. Speaking of, let's go ahead and talk about said collectibles. These, as mentioned, are little red orbs that, at least in the main campaign missions, are well hidden, well placed, or both. They will often be in places just out of reach, leaving you to figure out how to get to them. Sometimes the path is a little more subtle, and sometimes not so much. It's actually a lot of fun to search for them, in many cases more so than actually doing the obstacle course itself. The beginning of a stage will have a zoomed out camera rotating with a bird's eye view of the stage. With that view, you can often spot little red orbs, usually sitting somewhere along the top or at least off the beaten path. The fun mainly lies in figuring out the way or ways to reach them. Finding all 3 becomes increasingly difficult as the stages progress, which makes perfect sense. Do they actually do anything? I mean, not really, but you do feel a sense of pride and accomplishment, doing what EA likes to think it does, but minus any extra money being spent. All the speed and versatility in design forms one pretty decent package. If you're looking for a good parkour game, Celaria is not a bad choice in the least. At $14.99, it can understandably be a tougher sell for some, as this kind of game isn't everyone's cup of tea, and there really isn't an online population. That being said, I hope this review helps boost the population, just at least a little bit. I hope to one day run through all the courses with some friends. Until then, thank you for watching. This has been Phrieksho's Take.